Picture the ultimate ocean liner, a vision so colossal it dwarfed every vessel that had ever dared the seas before it. 1,000 feet of gleaming black steel stretched from bow to stern, a metallic behemoth rising tier upon tier of decks like a floating city forged in the fires of human ambition. 4 towering funnels painted buff and black pierced the sky, each one a promise of raw power and unyielding progress. In $1,912, $7.5 million had been poured into its creation, not merely as capital, but as a collective roar of possibility from an era intoxicated with conquest. Every rivet was driven with surgical precision, every brass fixture polished until it caught the sun like gold, every mile of wiring laid to ensure flawless operation across the merciless Atlantic. This was no ordinary ship. It was the crown jewel of engineering, a transatlantic palace designed to carry 2,208 souls, executives in tailored suits, families clutching dreams in battered suitcases, immigrants with hope stitched into their coats, explorers hungry for new horizons. The hull was double. Bottomed for safety, the boilers could push her to 23 knots. The lifeboats swung on davits that gleamed with fresh paint. From the grand staircase of Italian marble to the first-class smoking room paneled in carved oak, every detail screamed perfection. The larders brimmed with Dover sole and caviar, the wine cellars held vintages from Bordeaux to Burgundy, the engines waited below like caged thunder. On the morning of the maiden voyage, April 10th, the Southampton dockyard pulsed with electric anticipation. Tugs whistled, gulls wheeled overhead, the band struck up Rule Britannia on the boat deck. Captain Edward J. Smith White, bearded and resolute, stood on the bridge in his immaculate uniform, hand resting on the engine order telegraph. The pointer clanged to full ahead. The triple expansion engines turned over at 75 revolutions per minute. The screws bit the water, and the ship answered with a shiver of destiny. Smoke poured from the funnels, the wake unfurled like a white ribbon, and the crowd on shore cheered for what they believed would be the triumph of the century. Everything was ready, fuel tanks topped, provisions stacked, crew of 880, 5 drilled to perfection. Yet as the gangplanks rose and the ropes slipped free, an eerie hush fell over the scene. The decks, built for promenades and laughter, stretched empty under the spring sun. The grand dining saloon, set for 600 at first sitting, held only the glint of untouched crystal. The cabins, each with electric lights and heated radiators, stood dark and silent. The third, class open berths, designed for 1,000 steerage passengers, echoed with no footsteps. A handful of company inspectors, 8 invited reporters, 2 stowaways discovered in the mail room, that was all. 14 souls where thousands should have been. The most expensive machine ever floated, sliding away from the dock with virtually no one aboard. The image burns into memory. A cathedral of steel sailing into the void, capacity boundless, fulfillment zero. How could perfection in every technical detail end in such profound emptiness? The question demands we look beyond the gleaming surface, past the powerful engines, into the silent absence at the heart of the enterprise. The ship did not fail because a rivet was loose or a gauge misread. It failed because its creators, in their obsession with the possible, forgot the essential. They built a marvel, but they never built a reason compelling enough to fill it. Capacity is the container, purpose is the magnet that fills it. The crew were masters of the how and the what. They knew every valve in the engine room, every pressure point in the boilers, every star on the navigational charts. They could maintain 1 knots in a following sea, reverse the engines in 37 seconds, swing out 20 lifeboats in under 5 minutes. Their drills were flawless, their uniforms crisp, their hierarchy a model of efficiency. Yet they never paused to articulate the why that would draw souls aboard. They polished the brass while the invitation went unwritten. They expanded the staterooms, but neglected the story that would make someone choose this ship over any other. Capacity represents raw potential, the ability to house, to feed, to transport 2,000 across 3,000 miles of ocean. Purpose is the deeper current, the emotional gravity that answers, who must make this crossing, and what transformation awaits them on the far shore. Without that magnetic north, even 40, 6,000 tons of displacement drift aimless. The wireless room crackled with ice warnings no passengers would heed. The galley prepared 6,000 meals a day for 14 appetites. The band played ragtime to empty wicker chairs on the boat deck. Every metric of operational excellence was met, yet the ultimate measure, fulfillment of human purpose, registered absolute zero. This is the corporate trap, the personal trap, the universal trap. We mistake activity for progress, systems for soul. We build apps with 400 features and 0 users, launch companies with $1,000,000 runways and no clear mission, craft resumes that dazzle recruiters but leave us hollow on Sunday nights. I once poured $2 million into a mobile platform that could do everything, track habits, sync calendars, predict moods, yet when launch day came the servers hummed for ghosts. The code was elegant, the UI buttery, the marketing deck flawless. The mission statement, a single blank slide. Sound familiar, we become engineers of motion while remaining strangers to meaning. The liner mirrors our paradox. We know how to accelerate, how to scale, how to optimize, but we sail blind to the why that gives it all weight. Until that why awakens, every innovation is just expensive noise. Every milestone another empty mile logged on a chart to nowhere. The ship powered westward, cutting a wake so straight it might have been ruled by a draftsman's hand. The sea lay glass, calm under a polished sky, the temperature dropping degree by degree as they crossed the 50th meridian. Lookouts stamped numb feet in the crow's nest. Wireless operators traded jokes over lukewarm coffee. Stewards laid out salt shakers in perfect rows for tables that would never be filled. Below, the reciprocating engines thundered in perfect synchrony, burning 400 tons of coal a day to push a hull that carried no cargo but its own ambition. The reporters on board argued over headlines, world's largest liner crosses in record time, versus floating palace sails with echoes. One junior officer walked the full length of the boat deck, 5 football fields stem to stern, and counted 3 passengers in deck chairs, one reading yesterday's Times, the others dozing under rugs. In the galley, head chef Charles Proctor stared at a mountain of untouched sole and ordered the menu reduced to broth and biscuits. The Marconi room received a terse message from Liverpool. Public interest low, ticket sales dismal, advise early return. Captain Smith crumpled the flimsy and maintained course. He had orders to prove the ship, and proof required distance, not passengers. Ice warnings accumulated. Coronia, Nordum, Baltic, each one noted. Course adjusted 4 degrees south, speed unchanged. The ship was unsinkable, the night starlet. The handful of souls aboard slept soundly in corridors built for multitudes. At 11:40 on the 14th, 3 bells rang from the crow's nest. Iceberg right ahead. Helm hard aft starboard, engines full astern, 30. 7 seconds of scraping steel on ice. 6 compartments breached, watertight doors clanged shut. Pumps began their futile song. The 14 passengers were roused in dressing gowns, clutching steamer trunks they would never open. The band assembled on the tilting deck and played Alexander's ragtime band because no one told them to stop. Rockets flared into the black, lifeboats swung out half empty, the bow dipped, the lights burned bright on emergency, dynamos never meant to outlast the voyage itself. At 2:20 a.m. on the 15th the stern rose vertical, propellers gleaming in starlight, then the liner slid under, taking mostly crew because there had been almost no one else to save. The Carpathia arrived at dawn, picked up 712 survivors from 20 boats, 14 of them passengers who had paid for a dream no one else believed in. The inquiries focused on bulkheads and binoculars, but the deeper truth was unspoken. The ship sank not because it struck ice, but because it had no reason to float. It was motion without meaning, a flawless answer to a question the world never asked. Breakthrough came not in the engine room, but in the moment a single leader asked a different question. What if the emptiness was not a flaw in the steel, but a silence in the story? What if perfection in design meant nothing without a promise that stirred blood and bone? The crew had treated the ship as a container. They needed to see it as a covenant. They gathered on the bridge, charts pushed aside, and for the first time spoke not of steam pressure, but of human pressure. the longing that drives a mother to risk an ocean for her children's future, the ambition that pushes a tycoon to cross continents before breakfast, the hope that convinces a poet to leave everything for a new world. They redefined the voyage. It was no longer about speed or luxury. It was about safe passage to possibility. It was about connection across cultures, commerce between empires, the sacred promise that no storm would sever the thread between old lives and new beginnings. They crafted a message that burned, cross with us and arrive transformed. They sent wireless dispatches to newspapers, printed handbills in 5 languages, stood on soapboxes in Liverpool and Cherbourg and Queenstown. They did not sell cabins, they sold destiny, and something shifted. Families who had hesitated now clutched tickets like talismans. Executives cancelled rival bookings. Immigrants pooled pennies for third-class berths. The decks that had echoed with absence now vibrated with footsteps, laughter, languages braided together in the salt air. The same boilers, the same hull, the same crew, but now animated by a why that pulled harder than any engine could push. People do not board mechanics, they board meaning. A clear purpose creates its own current, drawing resources, allies, opportunities like iron filings to a lodestone. The universal law is simple. Articulate what you believe, and those who believe it too will find you. The most fulfilled creators, the most magnetic leaders, the most enduring movements all obey this law. They do not convince, they resonate. They do not market, they invite. They do not chase success. They become the North Star others navigate by. Now the challenge turns to you, because every life is a vessel launched on uncertain waters. Do not let your engines roar for no destination worth reaching. Do not let your days burn fuel on journeys that echo empty. You were not built for maintenance. You were built for momentum with meaning. Your skills, your discipline, your dreams, these are the rivets and boilers of your personal liner. But until they serve a purpose that transcends your own operation, they remain potential unfulfilled. Stop here right now and complete this sentence aloud. My ship exists to make life better for blank by blank. Speak it to one stranger today, a barista, a colleague, a child, and watch who leans in. That is how the magnet ignites. When you reach your final port, the measure will not be the size of your wake or the shine of your brass. It will be the stories of those you carried, the teammate you empowered to lead, the stranger you inspired to dare, the legacy you leave in hearts transformed. The world forgets specifications, it remembers souls. So raise your banner high, the one that flies your why in colors no storm can fade. Speak it boldly in every meeting, every post, every quiet moment of decision. Live it so consistently that it becomes the lighthouse others steer by in their own darkness. Fill your ship with fellow believers, with shared courage, with the precious cargo of human possibility. Turn every routine into ritual, every task into testimony. The greatest tragedy is not failure, it is capacity that never found its calling. You already hold the structure, the strength, the spark. What you need now is the conviction to name your North Star and sail straight for it. The time for silent passage is over. Let your purpose be the wind that fills every sail, the current that carries you swift and sure. Sail not faster, not further, but fuller, with intention in every degree of the compass, with heart in every beat of the engines, with life in every soul you welcome aboard. Because when you sail with intention, every league becomes legend, every horizon a homecoming, and every voyage, no matter how vast the ocean or fierce the gale, becomes the journey of a lifetime.